All right, guys, we have got our FIFA World Cup semifinal preview. There are only 4 teams left, and after our quarterfinal preview, we were pretty spot on. I think we got everybody through. Um, in terms of how the games went, I thought Spain were the better team by a bit. France had their best performance, I thought, of the tournament. They were fantastic against Morocco. And I think a lot of that had to do with Morocco, but I think a majority of that had to do with France. England get by Norway, and we'll talk about England's performance there in a minute, um, because I think there are some factors that are affecting England currently. And then Argentina snuck through the Swiss. I thought they were outplayed for long periods of that game, and then they get the red card and get on through. So, yeah, the 4 big dogs are in the final 4. This was pretty much FIFA's plan from the get-go, and I'm not saying like conspiracy-wise or anything like that, but in terms of the pre-tournament, keeping the top 4 seeds away from each other until the final 4, and then the top 4 seeds get through to the final 4. So those all happen, and they get through. As for the matchups, we're going to talk through them a little bit, and then, yeah, so there's only 2 games. We're down to that last portion here, only 4 games left. I'm going to miss it, but these are where the big dogs are, and we're going to crown a champion very, very soon. So let's jump into it. We'll talk about England and Argentina first. Again, Argentina snuck through again. We've been talking about Argentina sneaking through all tournament long. They need 2 extra time corners to get by Cape Verde. They need a pretty remarkable comeback and some a little bit of luck in there as well, in terms of just the Egypt goal being disallowed and stuff to get by Egypt. And then they are outplayed for really, really long stretches against the Swiss. Embolo does his thing. It was definitely a red card. It should be noted that I don't think Argentina are getting preferential treatment or anything. It was definitely a red card. It's just funny that it keeps happening to Argentina. But why he's diving there in the middle of the pitch on a yellow so extravagantly is beyond me. I'm not quite sure what he could be thinking. But again, it's another little break that goes Argentina's way, and they sneak through in extra time after that Alvarez stunner. And then they get one more on the break. So they get through, and they're into the semifinals there. And again, I don't think they're playing particularly well. And it doesn't matter. It's about surviving and advancing, and England can attest to that. That was pretty much what their Norway game was about. First 20-25 minutes was all England, and then Norway took over for large periods of time. I think there is a lot going on with England in terms of obviously you got a lot of games under their belt for a lot of these players, but you go to the Azteca. That's a ton of extra travel. It's a really emotionally and physically draining game. You have to defend the last 50 minutes of the game down a man, and that is really, really difficult. Again, emotionally and physically. And then you go to Miami, where it's incredibly hot. You're losing players seemingly left and right. Declan Rice is on fumes, it feels like. And a couple other things going on there, but they do sneak through in the end. Again, I thought Norway had a majority of the play in between the first and second water break. That 50 or so minute period was definitely all Norway. And then it felt like they started to run out of legs. They don't have a ton of depth in there as either, and the talent level is definitely just not the same. Again, England can bring on a Morgan Rogers, can bring on an Eze, can bring on a Rashford if you need to, can bring on a Reece James, and Norway just don't have that luxury just in general. So Norway had their chances in the middle to go ahead and win that one. It felt like they were definitely dominant in the middle there. Can't quite get out of it. And then it leaned England's way as the kind of game went on afterward. So a lot of different factors going into a lot of different things between these two, Argentina and England. And here we are. Now, I think Argentina are definitely been the worst performing side to be in the semifinals. I think Spain have been very good, France have been very good, and England have been okay, and Argentina haven't really been that good. Um, so I think they're the worst performing side here. In terms of going up against anybody right now, I'm worried that they're just kind of open. They're a little bit open. I thought the Swiss kind of they didn't create a ton, and that's not necessarily the Swiss's forte to kind of have a go. But the fact that a team that would accept 0-0 at the start of a lot of their games and a team that's slow and methodical were really aggressive attacking wise from the jump in that game, I thought is a little bit of a worrying sign for Argentina because they were getting into good spaces and a variety of good things like that, holding onto the ball well, and it was pretty easy. For again, Argentina scored on their corner, but it was pretty easy for Switzerland to hold on to the ball, to move along with the ball as the game was going on. Excuse my loud thing in the kitchen there, but um, in terms of just holding onto the ball, moving the ball around, getting into the final third, I thought it was relatively simple for the Swiss, and that's my worry about Argentina because, again, giving up a couple goals now to teams that aren't really known for going forward, and it's been relatively comfortable for a lot of teams going forward. Egypt found a ton of space. Switzerland, again, found space. Cape Verde, even when they were 1-0 down and tied that up at 1, found a decent amount of space. So it is a bit of a worry. There are rumors floating around that they may go change formation. And if they do change formation, the immediate thought is that they're probably going to a back three to kind of just help defensively a little bit. So we'll see there. But it is worrying, especially when you're going up against an England side that have been pretty good going forward for most of the tournament, where, I mean, they created a bunch of chances versus Congo, tore Croatia apart, were very comfortable against Panama. Again, didn't create a ton against a Ghana side that didn't come out to play. You know, found space against Mexico to score a couple times. In terms of Norway, it was a different type of game, but they were holding on to the ball for really long stretches, and it's tough for me to see a world where England don't hold on to the ball for really long stretches in this one. So that is my worry about Argentina. And again, if they don't change the formation, there's going to be space for Bellinghams. There's going to be space for Kane's. There's going to be space wide. I think in terms of the strength of Argentina, it's definitely down the middle. They got a lot of midfielders deep, and they get two decent center backs in there, but they really struggle to create wide. They really have no width in general, offensively and defensively. They struggle to defend wide. And when you're going up against a Gordon who can beat a lot of these players one-on-one, a Saka who's obviously exhausted but capable. He had a really fantastic run the other day. You get wing backs coming over the top, most likely with either Reece James or maybe if Spence starts, depending on who starts in those positions. So it's going to be, I think, a struggle for Argentina defensively in this one. And we'll see where that takes England. But in terms of England attack versus Argentina defense, I think England's attack kind of holds a little bit more weight here. As for the other way around, again, we spoke that they just don't carry a lot of width, Argentina. I will say that it's not like an advantage or anything, but England have had a little bit of trouble with that space between center backs and the midfielders defensively in transition. And if you get Messi picking up the ball in those spaces, which he likes to occupy, and Alvarez picking up the ball in those spaces, it will be difficult for them for sure to kind of give those up. So I think there will be a chance or two for Argentina, or good chances for Argentina. Again, a lot of the goals they've given up in this tournament have come from those second balls there. That goal that tied it at 2-2 in the Croatia game, headed it down space, off the free kick even for in Mexico, headed down into space. It's that second ball, that gap. So I think those gaps are open if you're going against England. So I think there could be goals in this game in particular. But in terms of where I think there's advantages, I think there are just more for England in this one. I favor England to get through here. And again, I just think there are more opportunities for them to score goals. And again, I think they're going to have more of the ball. I think they're going to be able to cause problems for Argentina wide in these spots. And if they go to a back three or a back five, if you're Argentina, then maybe the game's a lot slower and you can see more of a grindy type game. But if they don't, I think there could be goals in this game. So should be interesting. Again, I lean England. I think England get through here. I think Argentina's really not played particularly well. Haven't played really much of anybody, and I know that's the plan with FIFA to kind of shrink that out. But even they've performed the worst against the worst schedule so far, and I'm pretty confident that they're the worst of the four. But again, they have talent. They have Messi. If he can find spaces, again, against an England side that I don't think has been overly brilliant or anything like that, and they're dealing with issues on their own, I just favor them to be able to create more chances and be able to just control the tempo of the game a little bit more than Argentina can in this spot. So we like England in that one. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. Like, obviously, we'll come back for the final, but we'll see. And then Spain and France. This is a fantastic game. This is the game we were all hoping to get at the beginning of the tournament when the brackets came out. And this is what we got, which is fantastic. Spain sneak through Belgium at the end there, Belgium give up a late goalkeeper howler there, and Marino scores his latest winner. 2 in a row now where he's scored super late to go ahead and advance Spain through. And then we have France, who were comfortable against Morocco. That didn't even really feel like a game. In terms of, it didn't feel like France were in trouble at any point. Morocco really rarely left their half. They came into that game seemingly to not attack, it felt like. They were just going to hold on. And when Mbappe scored that really fantastic goal, everything fell apart for them. And it was easy from then on in. But that was a really good performance from the French, and probably their best performance of the tournament so far as they go into the semifinals. So France, Spain, they've played twice in the last couple of years, and Spain have won all of those. There was that 5-4 that Spain were up 4-0 and 5-1. And then they also won the other one as well. And pre-tournament, my thought was I'd like Spain in this matchup. And as the tournament's gone on, I don't know, I kind of lean toward the French. I'm very much on edge here. In terms of how the game I think will go, I think it'll be a lot lower scoring than people figure. Obviously, they've played a couple games against each other and there have been goals. But this feels like a French team whose defensively has been much, much better than expected. To me, at least, they're defending well. They're defending well as a unit. They're capable of defending in a block if they have to. They haven't had to do much of those throughout the tournament, but recently they've been very, very good. They let nothing up against Morocco, and again, Morocco seemed a little bit scared going forward, but they do control the ball as well. And you're going up against a Spain team who I think have been okay going forward. Nothing super spectacular. I think what gives Spain control in their games is possession and their ability to kind of find moments, because I don't think they've been super great offensively. They got over the line late versus Belgium, but a 1.3 XG before that late howler. They played Portugal where they needed another late winner. And they do create chances here and there, but they don't have a elite finisher or anything anywhere outside of Yamal on the wing, who's just kind of been getting doubled up. So it's tough to find. It's tough for them right now to create boatloads of chances. And even when they do create chances, there aren't necessarily elite finishers floating around on the side. So Offensively, I think they've been, a little bit blah. But again, the control, their ability to not give up goals, chances, period, makes it very, very difficult for other teams to, kind of get at them. Portugal struggled. Portugal have struggled offensively all tournament, but Portugal struggled. Belgium created like 0.34 ish XG, which is obviously fantastic defensively. If you're Spain, it just happened to Ketelaere did happen to score on his header. It was a good header. One thing I do worry about defensively is Simon, who has these weird little rushes, and I think he has those weird little rushes of blood, if like, because he's just doing so little, and sometimes you just want to get in the game. But he had that crazy bit at the end of the Belgium game that almost cost them an equalizer. I also think he's like the third best goalkeeper on the team, which is weird to me as well. So I do worry about him a little bit. Again, I think he's a good goalkeeper and stuff, but he's just shown signs of messing up here and there. So I would worry about that. But I expect both teams to kind of hold the ball. And again, Spain are going to hold the ball. They're going to, look for their chances the way they normally do. And the French are going to do the same on the other end. But I don't expect either of these teams to give up a ton of space defensively. I do worry a little bit more about Spain in that regard, because Cucurella does like to get into open spaces and does like to, he's such a big part of the attack and their width, that there could be spots there. And if Cucurella is up the pitch and Spain give the ball away, we're talking like a 3-on-3, probably the other way, pretty much any time that happens, which is obviously incredibly dangerous. And Rodri has been playing pretty well and doing really well in possession. Out of possession, he's a little bit leggy, and again, he's going to have a surgery after the tournament. That's going to keep him out a little bit for City as well. So there is something there. And if you're getting into these positions where France are on the break, that is obviously gigantic worry. That's the spot you don't want the French in. And you have to worry about a player or two defensively in those spots. So I do worry about Spain holding on to the ball too much and not creating a ton, because I think the French will be okay defending and doing what they can to kind of just win a ball here and there and get their attackers into space and into dangerous spaces against the Spanish defense. So it should be a really interesting one. Again, I don't have a view on who wins or loses this one. I do lean France with the way things are going. But again, pre-tournament, I had some Spain in my head, so I don't have too much of a it's very, very tight to me. This is very, very tight to me. It's it's lined pretty close. Spain or France are slight favorites. I'm okay with that. I would make this closer to a pick 'em, but in the end, I'm probably just going to watch this one and enjoy it. Enjoy two really good teams, and then we get another semifinal that has some more good teams. We should get, hopefully, 4 good games as we go along. But that's it for me. We'll be back for the final, and hopefully we get a good one.